Hi, my name is David Jones. Welcome to our ranch here in Hico, Texas, Rockin J Ranch. We have a complete training system that my family and I have developed over the last 25 years that includes equipment, it includes teaching people how to ride, teaching people how to rope. Our son is an accomplished team roper, Michael Jones. The training system that we've developed has taken him and others to the winning circle in major rodeos, major roping events all across the country. Throughout the last 25 years, we found some things in teaching people how to rope that can be taught more like other sports. And we're going to show you some things that we do in our training, and we've got some people coming over to take a few lessons or to take part of a lesson to show you how we do our training system, and we'd like to show you some of our products here in our ranch. Thanks for coming to Hico. Okay. As part of our training system, which includes our training equipment and our lessons and our saddles, we have a product that's called Crooked Stirrups Angled Riding Stirrups. They are a very unique, one-of-a-kind, no other stirrups like them in the world product that we manufacture. We're going to take you to our shop later and show you how we actually go about the finishing processes on the stirrups. But this is the Crooked Stirrups Angled Riding Stirrup. It's got a shape that fits your foot when you straddle around your horse, and it gives you way more balance than a traditional stirrup, and actually lessens the pressure on your knees and your ankles and your hips and your back. And it's a product that we've sold over 75,000 pairs. They've gone to 7 different countries. They're used in all disciplines of Western riding. It's a very, very unique product. It's not a gimmick. It's a very ergonomically correct stirrup for your riding pleasure. I started to develop a stirrup that was more ergonomic and in what fit what I thought was the way that a person needed to ride and needed to have their balance and control. The stirrup has a longer outside. When you put the stirrup, this would be the right side of your horse. On the outside of your horse, the outside hangs down. The reason for that is that when you wrap your legs around a horse, your knees spread and your feet actually, I don't know if you can see this or not, but your feet actually, the insides of your feet lift. To keep yourself in a good position in riding, you need to have you need to be able to get your balance on your feet. You need to keep your balance against the stirrups. Well, I tried several different things, and actually the first stirrups that we made were actually a solid block of aluminum, was 6 inches by 3 inches thick by 8 inches long, and they're actually machined out of a solid block of aluminum. And we made the first pair and we went to try them, and I was of course worried that they were going to be slick because they're at an angle and there's an angled bottom, and because of the extra amount of support that you have, there is hardly any slippage with these stirrups at all. They're much more secure. With the angled surface here, and there's more to the stirrup than just the angled surface. That's just one small part of it. But with that angled surface and with the way the stirrup hangs on the saddle, and each stirrup, by the way, each model has a different length and a different configuration that makes it work, so that no matter which stirrup you buy, it's always going to fit you properly. And that's one of the things that makes our stirrups really work, is that we understand and have made the stirrups that way from the very beginning. When you stand in this stirrup, what you actually do is you have a base of support that's really wide across the horse, and it gives you support that you don't get from any traditional stirrup. A lot of people have tried to make these stirrups, and to date we haven't found anybody that's been successful, because it's not a traditional type of understanding of how your balance is achieved on a horse. What we do is we get the stirrups are actually a sand cast, and what that is there's called a match plate, and it's got half a stirrup on each side of it. At the foundry, have a box. They put the match plate down, put a box on top of it, pack it full of sand. It's a special sand that comes from Belgium or Germany. It's a black sand that holds a moisture content, compacts but yet breaks apart and holds the configuration for the stirrups. And then that one side is packed, the thing is flipped over, the other side is packed, then those two parts are separated, this is pulled back out. When that's pulled back out, then those two halves are put back together, and then liquid aluminum is poured into that mold. The foundry that produces these then for us is kind of an interesting story, because we wanted to make sure we were doing all of our product in the United States, and particularly wanted to do it in Texas. And we found a foundry in East Texas that will pour the type of alloy that we use, which is a real unusual alloy to use for stirrups. It's a lot stronger, has a nicer feel to it. It polishes easily, but yet doesn't have some of the elements in it that cheap stirrups do, that are real easy to polish because they burnish and they have a lot of lead and zinc in them, and these don't. When the stirrups have the original finish that I'd like to have on them, or get them as straight as I want to have them, then they go into this machine here, and this machine here is a 12 cubic foot machine. It's got a media in it that is a ceramic, and that ceramic media tumbles in there for about 6 to 7 hours on the machine, on the stirrups, and leaves them in a kind of a rough but smooth finish. From there, we take the stirrups and they go into this machine over here, and this machine over here puts a semi-gloss finish on the stirrups. We also make several stirrups that have removable bars in them. One of the reasons we do that is so that they can be covered with rawhide or leather. And we also have some oversized stirrups that are quite a bit bigger for people that have extremely large feet, or want to wear overshoes in wintertime, something like that. We also make one with some narrower stirrup leather, for a narrow stirrup leather for somebody that has a saddle that has 2.5 inch stirrup leathers. And in doing those, what we do is we take them and we actually have to drill holes in them. What we do with these stirrups is we bring them in, we put them into a jig, tie them into the jig, drill a hole in them, get done with the hole, make sure that the hole is to size for the bolts, and we do that on both sides of the stirrup. I'll show you how we do that. Okay, from here then what we do is we have some custom rods that we put into the stirrups. A little Loctite on the bolts. Screw the bolts into the rods. We have a stirrup that has a rod in it that can be covered, or it can go through our finishing process, and and come up with a stirrup that has this kind of a finish on it. What we're going to do today is I've invited a friend of mine, Kenny Richardson, to come over. Kenny takes lessons from me, and he's quite an accomplished roper, and we do a lot of stuff with finish stuff, how things work. The whole concept of our training system is that it's a different way to look at how you rope. Instead of looking at it as a dummy and you're throwing at a dummy, which kind of leads itself to the baseball and catcher's mitt kind of a approach to it, we have an approach that's based on what this loop and what the loop circle does. And Kenny's volunteered to kind of go back and be a beginner, and then we'll make some changes so you can see how the training system progresses. So we're going to get Kenny up on the slick stick here, and this is one of our products of our training system. Kenny's going to get up on the slick stick here, and first of all we're going to do a little bit of heading. I want to look at what part of this swing is trying to get to the steer. A lot of dummy swings are even lower. Let it drop down here on the right hand side, Kenny. A little lower. Everything is kind of coming up and away. It's not going, there's really nothing going to the horns. All right, now in our concept of teaching roping, there's a different process. Let's break this down and take just the end loop here. And what I want you to do is swing that in a path. Let's get that path. All right, let's take the dummy loop swing, kind of low over here, kind of coming across the steer, pretty flat, swings kind of out to the right. And notice how that swing, if you can see it, you can see that swing is kind of coming up in the air. And there's not a lot of places that the entire swing is trying to get to the steer. All right, now, in our concept of roping, what we do, rather than the baseball and the catcher's mitt being the horns, baseball being the rope in your hand, our concept is to swing that rope so that the whole back strand all the way in this side of the swing has the intent of getting toward the horn. So let's just swing that rope up there with a high pitch on the right, be really high pitched on the right. Just do the single part, yeah. High pitched on the right, and I want you to see where the path is. You can kind of see that rope, in this whole side of the rope, has got everything is headed toward the direction of where the steer is. All right, that lets you, and you can go ahead and do it, is just let it down and let it go underneath the horns. There we go. All right, now we're going to add the other strand to that, so we've got both strands of the rope. And we have a swing that's high on the right. Get the swing going in a big circle or over the horns of the steer, and then guide the back strand on. All right. What this allows you to do is it allows you to have a lot quicker swing and a lot slower delivery, which gives you time to catch. It's very snappy. You can watch where the rope goes on. Swing it a little bit more to the right, Kenny, and it'll come up to the middle of his back a little more. Do one more swing, one more loop here. Okay, there's two things that this type of swing accomplishes. Number one, it's great for horsemanship. What happens when you swing your loop outside and to the right and push it forward to the left? What you end up doing is you also end up signaling to your horse to go in that direction. When you get the rope on, like Kenny's doing right now, when you get the rope up here where the rope is coming back to you, everything comes back to the saddle of your horse. It makes it much easier to train your horse, and it makes it much easier to catch a steer. You actually can put the rope over the steer and see that you can actually catch it, as opposed to a dummy loop where you're swinging off to the right and your throw comes from a place that you can't really see the rope, and it doesn't lend itself to a good catch situation. All right, let's just watch a couple of loops here. Awesome. Awesome. Big difference in this loop compared to the dummy loop is the dummy loop is swung slow pickup. I'm sorry. It's swung with a fast pickup, a slow swing, a fast delivery, and a slow slack. This loop is exactly the opposite. You do it with a slow pickup, a fast swing, a slow delivery, and a fast slack. That gives you more time to catch, and it makes the rope accelerate faster than it does with a dummy loop. This is my son Michael. Michael's one of the top PRCA ropers, PRCA National Finals champion. Won most every prestigious rodeo that there is in the United States. He's just a few dollars away from the $1 million earnings mark. Rides one of the greatest horses that there ever was, named Jackal. And Michael, if you give Kenny a little help here, it'd be really good.
And Jackal is, not was.
Oh,
Jackal's still
All right, Kenny, one of the things I want you to do is really concentrate on getting your rope over top of the steer going down the arena. And with the slick stick, what we're going to use is I'll turn you in as you come around, and we'll get ready for a heel shot. Real good. Come in, keep it over the steer. Slow down and put your rope on. That was really good. I'd like to see you hang on to it just a little bit longer. Going down the arena, one of the reasons it's so important to keep your rope over top of the steer is as the momentum changes from going down the arena to across the arena, it's really easy to lose your rope in the corner. So I want you to keep that rope over top of the steer through the corner so we don't lose momentum on our swing. Really good. Right there, keep it over top of him. Slow down, put your rope on. Man, Kenny, that's great. All right, Kenny, what we're gonna do, what David is setting up with the slick stick sled is a pattern that you guys are gonna run. And then we're gonna work on some drills. All right, Kenny, what we've got set up here is the track that the sled's gonna go on. And then he also set up a set of tracks for you to go on. Notice that we're not going to dive into the corner or go too far past the corner. We're going to have a good taper close. Going down the arena, maintaining about a 10-foot wide distance. Taper close. See how that corner developed just like the slick sticks corner. Good job, Kenny. Okay, what we're going to do with the sled here is make a good controlled run. This is the transition between the slick stick to the sled to cattle. A good smooth run will keep everything under control. Good horse position. Runs up there, ropes, and gets a chance to get a good smooth dally. Well, here he is. This is my great horse, Jackal. Jackal's a little over 20 years old now, and definitely a veteran of the sport. He won some very prestigious rodeos on him, including Cheyenne, the Reno Rodeo, and the average at the national finals. Probably the most lucrative win was at the George Strait Team Roping Classic, held in San Antonio, Texas. Well, goodbye, and thanks y'all for coming.